started to come down. Even when the safety cars were going to the grid, you could see a lot of reflections from the lights, so there is a little bit of standing water out there for the riders to deal with. It will dry.
Recent rounds in terms of points, just 30 separating them after 35 races. I think that really underlines how close they've been.
Yeah, it has been really closely matched all the way through the season. Bit of bad luck for Toprak, some mistakes by Jonathan Ray. That's been the difference between them. That's why there's 30 points between them as they come to the final round of the year. Toprak's been able to find his form in the Super Pole sessions. Third pole of the season for him. This is the most important one.
Toprak Razgatlioglu, you've got to consider to be champion-elect. As I said, no rider has ever lost the championship from this.
There on the racetrack.
This is what I was talking about. Look how evenly matched the two of them have been this season. 28 decisive factor wins, 13 to 11 the count, particularly victories in feature-length races where there are more points up for grabs. 11 for Razgatlioglu, 5 for Ray. It has been Toprak Razgatlioglu who's been able to pull an advantage in terms of championship standings. This is Jonathan Ray, trailing coming into the season finale. He's unaccustomed to this position. He's led into the final round of all 6, and in only 3 rounds has he retired from a race, and those are the 3 rounds in which he has failed to meet the 33-point mark.
Yeah, and you can see the big challenge for Toprak, those dark clouds overhead. You could see in the grandstands as well, the jackets buffeting around. There is a bit of wind out there pushing more and more of that weather towards us, so we could easily have another shower before the start of this race. 21 laps is going to be a long race around here in the best of conditions, but in changeable conditions like this, it really is a challenge.
Scott Redding here, top scorer in 2 of the last 4 rounds. His championship challenge officially extinguished in Argentina, had a fall in race 1, and that was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back, as it were. Although he did go on to take race 2 in San Juan. This is our most recent race winner, Scott Redding.
Yeah, and for Redding, it's been a strange season in
rounds for him. It is the 5th round in a row in which he's been beaten in Super Pole sessions by Toprak. As far as Bassani is concerned, the target is Garrett. 4th position in that Super Pole session, Garrett Gerloff. Axel Bassani, in terms of the championship, trails by 14, and that's important because they're the top 2 independent riders for the Wsbk Awards at the end of the season.
Yeah, and Gerloff in the ascendancy this weekend. He was 3rd fastest yesterday, 3rd fastest in this morning's free practice session, and 4th fastest on the grid, and he's going to have the opportunity of getting some decent results for World Wsbk. So that is the minimum amount of time that you have to spend in pit lane if you come in.
But to me, this is going to be bravery at its greatest as far as the World Championship decider is concerned. Took the championship lead, did Toprak Razgatlioglu, this man, by a point at the Catalonia round. He's steadily increased that margin since then, but that margin's going to come under threat, particularly in these wet weather conditions.
And you can see how much heavier it is coming down now. Again, looking outside our commentary box window, Haslam and Lowe's both stretched in underneath an umbrella on the front of the row of the grid, so they're both there to give Johnny as much advice as they can, and it's going to be really interesting to see what choices everyone makes. I don't think we're being this excited to see a Pirelli tyre sheet at any stage through the course of this season, but you can see for Ray as he makes his way around this track, this is the first time any of these guys have been out there in wet conditions. Really important to be able to try and push hard on this lap as well, so that you can see what the grip level's like, see where the puddles are, see if there's anywhere where the
out of jail free card potentially for Toprak Razgatlioglu, because the visibility there.
Grid, quite a few people making their exits from the grid now as well, and you can see as Toprak makes his way to the grid, just these conditions aren't going.
These kind of conditions would be impossible to ride unless you hit the front. So Razgatlioglu with a little bit of pre-race acrobatics to scale the pit.
Considering that they haven't been out in wet conditions at any stage here in Mandalika, so a real challenge for everyone, and the right decision being made there by the organisers.
Making that.
See what update we get on a start time. Tom Sykes still making his way around, and you can see just how difficult it is out there. Even at the slow speed Sykes is riding around at far too dangerous conditions. Very easy to aquaplane in conditions like this. A lot here, and obviously enough they've had some reasons to smile through the course this year, none more so than to come down at the same degree as well. You can see from these shots just how wet it is out there, and we saw when the safety car was doing its lap just how little visibility there was, especially in that run down towards turn 10, so no real chance of any change in the next while, but certainly for the superbike riders, they're going to just have to come together. They could well be able to talk, as the safety commission traditionally we see 3 riders from the safety commission come together and make a decision about what to do. We saw that, if you think back to dousing to Jules Cluzel. Well, I said previously I wanted to know where Cluzel had managed to get to. The number 16 tattoo on his back gives it away, if nothing else. And he and Dominic Egerton before him already claps of thunder now, I think I could hear there, either that or something similar. But yeah, all going on at the moment out there, and I just cannot see how we could possibly be racing in this situation. Watching Scott Redding at the moment.
as he watches on his final weekend, of course, with Ducati before he moves to BMW machinery next season. Wet weather expert Tati Mercado. There you go. There's a rider who'd fancy going out.
Yeah, I think none of these riders are fancying going out in these conditions. Tati's done well this weekend, though, qualifying 10th on the grid. So on the 4th row of the grid, his best qualifying effort of the season. And that's good to see, considering it's been such a tough year for that MIE Honda squad. Good to see that Tati's been lined up for next season as well. And certainly he's been able to make a lot of progress with that bike over the course of this season.
Has indeed. 21 laps we were expecting this afternoon at the Mandalika International Circuit. We wait for further news as to what might be happening here. Just discussions between fellow Ducati riders and former teammates as well. Scott Redding and Chaz Davies. See if we can listen in. Yeah, just talking about time
coming from. So that is the challenge, and you can see there for Jonathan Ray just giving Jake his son there a little bit of good luck for his football match later on, and then telling Tyler to get himself to bed.
Yeah, Jake and Tyler back to bed because we're clearly completely different time zones and so on. And a reminder that the riders know as well as we do that there can't be any racing in the current conditions, and so go back to bed. You're not going to miss anything. Is pretty much the current answer.
And you can see there Sarah from Yamaha. That must be of the duck at this stage, making its way down pit lane.
I really hope it is. Tati Mercado, we saw, I didn't get to see what the message was that he'd attached to the duck as well, but I'm sure there are a fair few stories going on behind the scenes, and I'm sure those are all being captured as well. But at the moment, the story trackside is the driving rain that is going to play its role in the championship showdown. Well, we wished for this, so this is all our fault. It's not quite come down in the way that we expected, or the way that we might have hoped. We wanted it to be a dramatic extra situation for the championship contenders to face. They faced pretty much everything else as well as one another over the course of 2021. But it doesn't look as though there's going to be any way for them to face these conditions here this afternoon.
Yeah, and certainly they'll make a decision fairly soon about that. But the riders, you can see, they're in no rush to be out on track. They know exactly what the conditions are like, teams as well. So as it is right now, it's definitely a little bit of a wait for everyone until we're able to find exactly what the schedule is going to be and whether or not we'll be able to get racing today.
Close fought and tight World Championship scenario as well. Toprak Razgatlioglu versus Jonathan Ray. 30 points in it ahead of this weekend, the season finale. And of course also the Manufacturers World Championship up for grabs, with Yamaha leading the way. But only a mere 16 points in it at the top of the standings. Yamaha ahead of Ducati with Kawasaki.
The only rider making that change, as you said, Alex, by 50 minutes time, that's when we'll get an update on what to do with the schedule. So for everyone else, they just need to try and keep themselves calm at this stage and just see what happens at the top of the hour.
Fun and frolics has been the story of this afternoon. A planned race one from the 2021 Pirelli Indonesian round. But we'll have to wait and see when we can finally get underway with the first ever Superbike World Championship race around this venue. For now, at least, it's going to be a goodbye from the Mandalika International Circuit.